Watching the game, I still felt like the Chiefs are the team to beat, even with the Bills winning that game.
Good day, my friends. Welcome back. I'm BJ Kissel. This is 10 Things on KC Sports Network, number one source for Kansas City sports coverage. Chiefs followed the Bills Sunday afternoon. They dropped to 5-4 on the season. The Chiefs have lost their last 4 games that were decided by 8 points or fewer. This is a team that had won an NFL record 17 straight games that were decided by 8 points or fewer at one point. And to help us break it down, it's a special guest and someone who knows a little something about both of these teams. You can't see him right there. If you're listening to audio, I'll drop it right now. It's Mr. Mitch Morse, former Mizzou Tiger, former Kansas City Chief, former Buffalo Bill, former Jacksonville Jaguar. Did I get them all?
You sure did. That's
all right.
All the encompassing.
Mitch, it is so good to see you and catch up with you. Our paths crossed years ago, but I will say there's very few, I can admit this now, very few players that have, once they've left the Chiefs, I only wish good things when I'm watching them play, even if against the Chiefs, I want them to do well. Man, you were one of those guys. I'm not going to lie.
BJ, you're a sweet, sweet man. And whenever we talk, which is not as often as it should be, and that's probably on me, BJ, but I often think of off seasons in that Kansas City dining hall when we just had time to kill. I didn't have kids. I think you had a young family at the time, and we would just talk shop, dude. We'd talk shit. We'd talk about nonsense. And that's the stuff that you remember the most about hanging with dudes. And those were some really fun times. In fact, you gave me, I know I've talked about this before, I think on this platform with you, you gave me one of the greatest pieces of advice for my wedding day. You might have given 2 of them, but the one that we went with was the after wedding with the wedding party to the alcohol store. Oh, it set that we were skunked. We were drunk as hell at our wedding, and all thanks to you, my friend. So thank you. I appreciate our friendship, and I appreciate having me on, buddy.
No, that is good stuff. I appreciate you sharing that story and talking through it. That was the good stuff. You mentioned the cafeteria, and you know what's funny? I see Ryan Hunter about once a month out walking because he lives in the neighborhood right across the street. I see him all the time. He's killing it in the CFL. I see him all the time and drive by, but I can remember like it was yesterday, you guys sitting at our lunch table and be like, we sit with those guys all the time. What are you guys working on? Like, what are you guys doing?
Totally.
And it was the good stuff. And then the coaches would walk in and I'd have to look and be like, I didn't sit here. They sat. I did not go around these guys. This is them. This is their fault.
It was the off season, dude. It was the off season. There, of course, there were. It's almost unwritten rules for players. I know there was actual rules for staff and such, but
yeah,
I mean, it truly was like you can sit down, coach, and be a part of this conversation. You realize we're not solving the world's problems or anything about football. This is just a malarkey we're talking about, and it was fun. But your butthole would slam shut when coaches would walk through, and that is something that has never.
You guys got a kick out of how nervous we all got. I was like, we didn't.
Well, dude, we were just as nervous. You know what was crazy was I had done. I know we have a show to get to, but I did a little. It wasn't little. Coach Reid asked me to come back and be a part of his little foundation thing he does with the Special Olympics of Missouri. And I sat at his table, and I'm telling you, my heart rate elevated above 100 the whole time just being in the proximity. And I didn't play for him. I was retired. And I said it in my speech. I was like, dude, I'm clamming up here because no matter how old I get, no matter what happens, like just being around Coach Reid or certain coaches in general, like it's always a patriarch. It's always a father figure. That sounds weird as hell, but it's the truth, man. It'll never go away. It never will.
I saw my high school, and I was not good at football in high school at all, but I saw my high school football coach not too long ago, and he still has like that presence. And it's just like, man, I'm like 42 years old. And I'm just like, man, I would still see you like standing in that corner, like monitoring the hallway, and everybody just walk the other direction.
It's like, can I use the bathroom? Like you're 40 years old. Like, yeah, dude, it's a wild experience.
All right, we'll get into this, and I'm sure some more stories will get mixed in here, Mitch. But I got to ask you, watching the game on Sunday, we're recording this Monday night. Most people are probably listening on Tuesday. But when you're watching the game on Sunday, I'm not going to ask you who you're rooting for. I won't do that. I won't put you on that spot. I see all the helmets in the back. But Yeah. What's going through your mind when you're watching the game? Can you watch it as a fan, or are you watching it as a player, wondering what play's coming and how they're reacting? Like, how does your brain work when you're watching?
That's a great question, BJ. I thought it'd be more of just like a, analytical kind of trying to dissect what was going on, but I find myself being just a fan of the game. And yes, that game was interesting because you have personal relationships kind of intertwined with both teams. But I just watch as a fan. Now, that being said, it's hard to watch anything outside the tackle box, right? Like I'm watching the offensive line and how that's going. And then as the ball matriculates down the field, you do that. But I had fun watching the game. Like it was just a good, and honestly, like objectively, it didn't end up how the Chiefs wanted it to, but I thought it was a good game. I mean, I think about how many third and longs do the Chiefs, convert on like that. It's just good football being played on both sides. And I hated seeing those offensive linemen go down. Like, of course that, that hurts my heart, but objectively, I thought it was a pretty kick-ass game.
Which, as somebody, and we were joking about this before we recorded, just because it's tough. Obviously, a lot tougher for you, but like tough for me too, just because I got to see the way that everybody went about their business. It was the only thing that I got to see was the way that Coach Reid and the way the system and just kind of the way the organization worked. But to see the detail and the way they went about their business, and this was years ago, but knowing that process, when things struggle, it's always like, it's not saying that there aren't problems to fix, but it's like they're on it. Like they're on all. What's your message to Chiefs fans to watch? Because at 5-4 right now, some of the margin of error and the one-score games that we talked about that they had been winning, it's not happening. What's your message to Chiefs fans about what you know about what's going on in that building and the way they go about their business to know that the ship will get righted at some point?
Well, to answer how they go about their business, I refer to recently when I was there for minicamp. They let me in for a day, and I was talking to guys. I talked to my wife. I got home, and she asked how it was, and I was just like, dude, nothing has changed. You could fool me that this team has won that many Super Bowls, has gone to that many Super Bowls. Like, there's just an unspoken intensity in this building. It's not like you can't, his whole thing is let your personality show, but like there's a standard of work and there's a standard of how you do stuff. And even in OTAs, like guys were flying around, of course, following the rules. We don't get into any trouble, but like, it was so intense, dude. But like in a good way, like, oh, this is a team that still feels slighted in a certain way. Like this is a team that still has a standard of how they approach their business. And my favorite Coach Reid anecdote was 2015. We won our first game and lost 5 in a row. And he walks into the team room and he goes, guys, this has never happened to me before. I don't know what, like, because we're not a bad team, all this stuff, but I know what works. So we're going to get back to the grindstone. We're going to do what works. And then we banged off like 11 straight wins.
That's when Doug Peterson started calling all the plays.
Yeah, well,
that's what Coach said after Doug got hired. Is like he started calling all the game after the Pittsburgh game. Well, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that.
Well, here's what I'll say. I'll say, the margin of error on that whole thing, it is tough in this business. It is a game of inches. As easily as these games could have swayed one way, it could have swayed the other. Like, I don't think this is watching the game last night, I still felt like the Chiefs are the team to beat, even with the Bills winning that game. Like, the Chiefs are still the standard in the NFL. They're still the team being chased. And what that means is you're still going to get everyone's best shot, and you will as long as Patrick Mahomes is under center, right? I would not right the ship on this team. They're hitting a bye week at the perfect time. I feel like no team has ever hit a bye week and be like, we should still keep playing. We don't need this bye week, right? But I do think that this is the perfect time for this team to get this bye week, get a little bit of respite. And then, of course, more than anything, like this is when coaches go self-scouting. This is where you're going to see those wrinkles. This is where you're going to see like, all right, this is what we're doing well. Let's bang this out. Here's the stuff we can tweak. We're not doing this well, but we could be performing it a little bit better. Here's how we're going to do it. Like, and then no one is better at doing that than the people in the Coach Reid coaching tree, especially Coach Reid, who's at the helm of that.
Very important question for you now. As somebody that, and you've had 3 guys, but we're just going to stay with the 2 golden hands that you've had with you. Who has the softer hands, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen?
Both have very firm, calloused hands, and that's just how I like it. Both guys. Well, what's interesting, and this is more of a, I messed up my elbow pretty good throughout my career, and as I did that every year, my snaps would progressively go more left under center. So by the time that like Pat had me, that was straight knuckle on crack. But by my last year with Josh and then with Trevor, dude, it was pretty much left adductor these boys had to put their hands on. So both boys have delicious hand placement and pressure. Dude. It's great.
What the personalities of Josh and Patrick, because a lot of people like to make those comparisons. We know the competitive fire they have between them. They're still buddies off the field, or they're cordial off field, whatever that is. As somebody that's been around them both, what similarities do you see in the way that just two professionals go about their business, being two of the best in the world at what they do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we saw it last night a little bit in the demeanor, right? Like people do ask me this question a bunch, and this is how I like to answer it: is that both guys, like you alluded to, have way more similarities than they do differences. The thing that both of these dudes have is that when it's a competitive fire, yes, but competitive fire is often to the layman how you conceive that is like this rah speech, right?
Yeah.
That's not what these guys. It's not their bread and butter. They can if they need to, but it's not their bread and butter. Their bread and butter is them being able to get. So say like it's 2 minutes left, or say there's 13 seconds left in a game, right? You see it in their eyes. You hear the call. You see the demeanor. They walk in the huddle. Like no matter what is being called, no matter the situation, they have the confidence in themselves and the guys around them, and they're going to do everything they need to win the game. And then sometimes it's a Herculean effort, and sometimes it's just understanding what's going on in the game. And these guys will perform at the highest level no matter what the stakes, no matter how they feel, no matter if it's a 1:00 game against whoever or a 8:30 game, 8:20 game in the Eastern. Don't get me started. It's the worst part about any of these time zones. These guys got it going on. And no matter when you have the ball or what the situation is, you know these guys can get it done.
When you're in the fire with those guys, and how the confidence developed from Patrick Mahomes to know when you're in that, oh, he's going to get it done. How as a teammate, does that happen at practice? Is it the way that he's going about his business at OTAs, or do you have to see it in the regular season, in the playoffs, to develop that confidence that it's going to get there? And I bring this up, and this can be a long-winded way of explaining it, but I want to make sure I get I articulate the point, because I talked about it with Chiefs fans, that it's entitlement. It's great as a Chiefs fan knowing when we're watching games that this game is a perfect example. Patrick Mahomes, statistically, one of the worst games he's had. He had under 50% completion for the first time in over a year. James Cook goes for 114 yards. Josh Allen only had 3 incompletions, had 3 touchdowns on the day. They make all of these plays. But how do you know that as a player that you have confidence your guy's going to get it done? Because as Chiefs, they don't get it done. You know, when they play their best, they're good enough to win a Super Bowl. Whereas a lot of other teams, they're trying to see, like, if we play our best, is this going to be good enough? That's the great thing as a Chiefs fan, is it's like, hey, that wasn't good enough, but we know they have it in them as this kind of can you have that before you do it, I guess is the question.
Yeah. Well, no. Here, so maybe I'll answer it. No, I'll answer it a few different ways. I'll answer it as an opposing fan. So say I'm an opposing fan, or maybe I'm a guy on the other sideline, or maybe it's just me watching the game. Yes, those statistics were what they were, but did you ever feel like the Chiefs were out of it with Pat? And I think that answers your question. Never once. Say in 2021, we scored that touchdown in that great divisional round game. Sit down, 13 seconds left. Yes, we were giddy. I was on the sideline. A lot of guys on the sideline saying, well, this game really isn't quite over yet. Why? Because, yes, we've seen it before. And I guess that's part of the, you call it entitlement. And I think that might be misconstrued at times, but I think that's something you guys have earned as a Chiefs fan, right? You've earned that way of thinking because you've seen it over and over again. As a player, I have to preface that I was only with Pat for 1 starting year, and then I was with Alex for 3. So people often ask me this, and I feel like I get more props in making these comparisons than I probably deserve, right? That being said, I've never seen a guy's life change more from week 1 to week 17. There were 16 games back then in 2018. And you saw it from the first week versus the Chargers when we're playing in that soccer stadium. He bangs off somebody. And then we go to Pittsburgh and it's up 40-something points. And then it never stopped. And then you hit that Rams game where you play, or supposed to be in Mexico and all that stuff. And yeah, the guy just in those big moments. I mean, by the time we hit the playoffs, it was just like, shoot, we just got to kind of do our job the best for our ability. But that dude behind us is going to bail us out more often than not, right? So I know that's a long-winded way of not answering your question totally. I think it's one of those things that has a little bit of both. Like, he knew it from the jump. But also, I'll preface this with, some guys said they knew it when he was on the practice, practicing with the twos. You see stuff you don't know, like that caught everyone by surprise, caught the world by surprise, that first year. But yeah, I mean, as a fan, you've earned that right. You've been to 5 Super Bowls in the last 6 years. Like, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it.
There's a lot. I call it stolen equity that fans take from players. Because we go talk shit on our friends and people that root for other teams
Sure.
on something we have no control over. And then when you guys don't perform, then we get mad at you guys because we can't yell at our buddies because now we're the ones taking it and having to eat it.
Well, it's a beautiful thing about sports.
Stolen valor, stolen equity, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I think that's just being invested emotionally. I think that's what you want from your fans. You want that emotional investment. That's what makes a good time so good. And then kind of got to eat a shit sandwich when things aren't going well. You got to hear about it. And you're right. That's why you play the game. You don't play it. I mean, we wouldn't have this deal if it wasn't for very invested fans who are, home or abroad. That's just the nature of the business. And of course it sucks when you're hearing an earful on Twitter, like, yeah, like if, eat shit and die is not very constructive from a fan, but I get, like, you understand that that's just an emotionally immature person who's very invested in your team. Like, that's just how it is.
I remember those first few years I was with the Chiefs when you were playing, some of the comments that you'd see on social media, we get on the team plane afterwards and just be like, I've shared this before. I used to talk about this with Jeff and Mike, Jeff Allen, Mike DeVito, about nothing changed my perspective more on understanding players' perspectives than watching Tamba get on the team plane after a game and then have people on social media tell me that guy doesn't care.
Oh,
and that he's not giving his effort. I'm like, that motherfucker couldn't get on the plane.
man,
I had to help him. Like, it changed a lot in that.
without a doubt.
But
Without a doubt.
I'm curious. I've shared this story multiple times about Mahomes, and then we can move on and talk about a few other things. I want to try and talk about your podcast too, because now you've entered the media world. But I've shared this story about Patrick Mahomes. I talk a lot about Alex Smith and what I saw that first training camp of Alex. Everybody says, like, oh, he went out of his way and he really helped him and did this. Really, like, I saw it with my own eyes and nobody else in the cafeteria that they're sitting down talking football all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a time, it was during the regular season when Alex was playing with Mahomes, who was kind of redshirting that year, that they were playing basketball in the locker room. Media was in there and they were playing horse of that round the world game where they're all shooting. And Mahomes had like a shot to win it, and Justin Houston was kind of guarding him. And Mahomes shot it and kind of like held it and just kind of pimped it a little bit and was like staring down Justin Houston in the locker room when he made this shot. And I just remember thinking, I don't know if it was somebody was next to me, and I was just like, that takes some moxie at that position with where Justin was at that time in the NFL. For a redshirt quarterback to kind of stare him down a little bit and then just walk off cool as cucumber, didn't overdo it, but just like this inner, like, I'm the fucking guy. And it was just, that was the first time I saw it. I was just like, oh, like, I distinctly remember just being like, oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it kind of fit everything else that you had heard about how he was playing and what he was doing with the scout team and how he was understanding coverages and the looks and how to get protection set and the stuff that he cared about. Back then, it wasn't the throws. It was, did I get the protection set? Where they were trying to confuse him all the time.
Oh, don't get it wrong. The dude's got a killer mentality. And then you just know that everything else would follow suit. I sit here and I know I've said eating a shit sandwich, but, it definitely followed suit in the biggest way possible. I mean, the guy's been a perennial all-pro, just superstar, and a really good dude. I think that's the coolest thing to see is just good people getting their flowers, performing well, but also knowing that he's got a good backbone behind him, which is, it's easy to root for a guy.
Yeah. He's had to handle a lot. He's handled everything. Well,
without a doubt.
Cool. All right. Let's talk about, before we go to break, let's talk a little bit about your podcasting. You got into the media space now with your podcast, Monday Mornings with Mitch. Talk a little bit about your podcast. How'd you get into it, and what have you learned about being on the other side of it now?
Oh, great question. Thank you for the plug.
Well, subscribe, go YouTube, all the places.
Do it or don't. Like, I get it either way. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool regardless. Well, um, when I retired, I knew I kind of wanted to do a little bit of the media. I didn't know exactly what. I love talking to folks. I'm not the best at talking X's and O's, truly. I can talk football. I can talk, big picture stuff, and I just like talking to people. Um, so I got a Good Morning Football stint twice, and that was so much fun. I thought it would scratch an itch and I'd be able to go home, and did the exact opposite. And then the producer was like, "Hey, I think you have an opportunity to, if you really work hard for it, have a place in this space, but you have to do your due diligence. You have to put yourself out there. It's the hardest time right now to stand out and be able to do something like this." And forever I didn't want to do a podcast, dude. Like, I thought it'd just be another schmuck who retired, who no one gave a shit about, like, listening to their opinion. But then I had a real candid conversation with my wife and a few folks I loved, and it's like, why not, dude? Why not? And if you fall on your face, which you totally could, like, at least you gave it your dues. And when on your deathbed, you're sitting there and you're like, well, at least you gave it a shot, you know? So the Monday mornings thing came about because we had a lot of time to kill Monday after games in Buffalo. And the equipment manager named Jeff Mazurt, great friend of mine, he had this couch where I would go back there and we would just chew the fat, talk wild stuff and about football, sure, but sometimes about life and just complete nonsense. And it became such a thing over the years that we called it Monday Mornings with Mitch. He made T-shirts we would wear on Mondays. It was just real fun. And so when the name came up, I thought, why not do Mondays? And originally I thought, like, I'd talk to players and stuff Mondays after games, and I was just like, there's too many variations of that. I don't know how that's going to go, but these could air Mondays. And it turns out Mondays after football games, no one wants to hear what I have to say, which is fine. It's cool. The biggest thing, we had talked about it off air a little bit, was that it was an incredibly humbling experience. You could put a lot of time into research on how you want the flow of the conversation to go. You have to be able to kind of follow script, but also go off the cuff a little bit. And, sometimes people want to hear about it. Sometimes people don't. And that shouldn't affect how you prepare or how you feel about doing it. And I got to tell you, I love every second of it. I love researching and then getting these, that look in the person you're interviewing's eyes, like, oh, wow, you really took the time, or you're really asking me questions that I care about. And sometimes it's not what the audience wants to hear, but that's what I want to talk about. So it's been cool, man. I've enjoyed the heck out of it. I'm learning a ton, and I've been leaning on a lot of people, asking a lot of favors. And I think that's the hardest part, is putting yourself out there and asking a lot of favors, not being able to return many favors right now. So we're going, and we'll give it a go. And if it doesn't work out, you know what? I'll be able to sit down, be a dad, be a fully retired schmuck, and enjoy it, man. I'm really having a good time doing it, truly.
I tell you, as somebody, I don't listen to a ton of podcasts. I would listen to yours because you're one of the most genuine. You connect with people.
I appreciate it
very easily. So I could see you being really good at this. And I think when we started it was, I understand what you mean by the favors, but imagine they're not your teammates, but they're guys that you used to ask questions to in the locker room. And it's like, I kind of know some of these guys. And it was easy with like Jeff Allen and Mike DeVito and guys that I was close with. And I had those relationships. But yeah, I think for me, the best part was just doing cool things with friends is kind of how we described KCSM when we first started. And that a lot of us are all over the country. It was just a way to connect with our buddies and just stay in touch with them and talk with them every week. And the fact that other people wanted to spend part of their day listening to that, busy as everybody is, that's the one thing that I take very seriously with this. And I talk about it quite a bit on the network, is that we know everybody out there is busy and you're choosing to spend part of your day listening to us.
Yeah.
And so got to take that to heart and respect it. So appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break.
Okay. I have a question.
No.
Okay. Let's get to so Seth, I forget his hand. But he's out of Minnesota, correct? Seth
Kaiser. Yes.
I love that guy. he was so kind to me when I was playing.
It's like your son.
Well, yeah, I just loved it. I mean, that was so cool. It was so sweet. It was so kind, and he was always so constructive, even when I was going through my injury stuff. So, if Seth's listening out there, I miss you and love you, pal. Hopefully, we can connect here soon, buddy.
Yes, he's on the network. His only weird.
Oh, is he really? Of course, my dog.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's the cool thing, Mitch, about the Chief Space is there's a bunch of us that have known each other for, predating the Pioli era. I started in like 08 at Arrowhead Pride, and that's where Seth and Matt Verderam and Craig Stout and Patrick Allen was there, is over at Arrow Attic now. There's so many of us on all these different platforms that were all working for free, covering a really bad football team back then. But it's a cool space since that's one of the guys that we've all known each other a long time. Gotten married, had kids, kind of all communicated that through blogs and everything. It's been a really cool ride, but we'll definitely get you and Seth together at some point.
That'd be great. Do your break. Go to crash.
We'll be right back.
After break.
We'll be right back after this.
Calling all Chiefs fans, you could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pre-game coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs.
My name is Terez Paylor. A lot of people call me TJ, founder and CEO of Integrity Capital Management. So Integrity Capital Management originally started out as a property management firm, but we slowly transitioned to what is described as an incremental development firm that's focused on situational housing. I know most people say affordable, but we believe in creating housing for people that are actually in need and built to the end user. I believe everyone needs a home because when you have home, you have hope. The reality is that when you're building a business, one thing you don't think about is like what a true banking relationship means. And, I had the honor and privilege of meeting Debbie early on in my career when I was just trying to get going. And as a small business, it's really challenging at times because people don't understand the concept or not believe the longevity because you're just getting started. But Debbie was willing to take a chance on me, be patient with me. I almost look at it like a grassroots initiative. She's seen and believe what I'm about. Anybody that's really true about their business and want to get some things done, I would definitely trust hands down Emprise because Deb's team, along with Aaron and Jackie and all the amazing people that work behind the scenes, even from the treasury side, I would say, hey, give them an opportunity because you won't be disappointed and you will actually be in hands that actually somebody care and that will see you from start to finish.
Chiefs Kingdom, what is your favorite touchdown? By now, you guys already know that my favorite touchdown is the next one because with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown could bring you closer to cashing in. From first touchdown score to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. You want spreads? They got it. Over-unders? DraftKings got you covered. Same-game parlays, regular parlays? DraftKings has it, and you need it. And here's the best part. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Your team hitting pay dirt pays out to you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Welcome back to 10 Things here on KC Sports Network. BJ Kissel hanging out with Mr. Mitch Morse. Mitch, I have a question for you, and I don't know if I've ever asked the player this question before. And I think it's been a long enough that you'd make fun of yourself if you didn't know. That's why I'm excited to ask you this.
Okay.
During the Chiefs-Bills game, the non-reviewable play on the pass being deflected on the intentional grounding.
Ooh.
I'm not asking like your thoughts on that specific play, but were you a player? Like, did you know the rules at that level? So when something happens, you're like, I know what's going on. Or were you one of the guys that's like, what do you mean game's over in overtime after they score a touchdown?
Right.
With different rules. Like, were you generally aware of the rules?
Man, it just depended on, I knew most of the rules that pertain to inside the box, right?
Yeah.
And the proverbial tackle box. Dude, anything that's going on outside the box, like I got a general gist, but sometimes, you learn more as it goes. Coaches do a very good job of, you hear about going through situations in an off season, all that stuff. Like they bring the rules, the books in, they bring the everyone in. So you do have pertinent information, and then a lot more time on task. You just get to know just situational, like stuff like that happens, and then you learn on the fly. But plenty of times I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Especially when they're really trying to hammer in like a new rule. Oh, you get screwed. Well, the worst thing is when they're like, so a rule changes, right? So in 2018, crackback blocks were this huge thing.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do this. And I remember 2019, that was what it was. And man, I got hit with like, it was the rule of the year. And I barely hit this guy going towards my end zone. And they fined me $50,000. And I appealed it, of course. And I still got popped like 10 G's, but they'll kill you, especially if it's something on. And I barely hit this dude. They didn't even throw a flag on it, but it just depends. That's a great question.
Oh.
I tend to not know what's going on out there. I just fly by the seat of my pants and pray to God it worked out.
It worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah, it worked out all right.
We'll say that much. With the NFL season, just in general, not Chiefs, not Bills, but just NFL season in general, what's been one thing that's really surprised you about what's transpired through
man. Now? NFL Red Zone's really cool. I had no idea. I'd heard about it, but man, that is something special. Mr. Hansen's the real deal. I think he doesn't get paid, and I don't know what he gets paid, but double it. My dog is working his ass off in there. What I love about the NFL is parity. I love, as much as it stinks for the Bills, and I do a lot of Bill stuff. Like, how great is it that Vrabel shows up and the Patriots are back to doing their thing? Like a Drake May's out there playing his tail off. How great is it that a guy like Sam Darnold or my dear friend Mac Jones is out there just playing his ass off? Like, I just love that part of football. It's been so fun and so fun to enjoy that now that I have a vested interest in the entity rather than this one section. And I can't really deviate from that because this is my job, right? I just love the parity in the NFL. It's the greatest game on earth, football. Mm-hmm. And the NFL does it as great as anyone, of course. It's just cool, man. I know that's a very broad answer, but I'm just really digging watching the game right now. It's so much fun. And what's going to be really fun is when the Chiefs figure it out and they push the playoffs and the Bills get in there and they're playing again.
The Jags come.
The Jags go in. The Jags go in there. They figured this thing out. They're riding. I really do like what Liam Cohen's doing. I truly do. I think the guys have a little bit of spark. They got juice. They're playing hard. They're playing better football than we did last year, which is just a fun thing to see, right? We did not play good football. It's just cool. It's fun to see these teams do well. I enjoy the hell out of it.
How much do you enjoy being home?
Oh,
do you enjoy the time or do you drive yourself crazy?
Oh no, it's great. So that's a great question, BJ. So someone told me towards the back half of my career to play a little bit longer than you think you should. And the opportunity rose up to play in Jacksonville. And I had every intention to play the 2 years that I signed up for. I didn't sign this 2 year thinking I was going to retire in one. You do have this kind of divine intervention that you're done. And the Jags treated me a lot better than I deserved in regards to letting me go. Like they could have clawed back and they didn't. And that was a beautiful thing. And I will always respect them for it. But that being said, I'm just like, I have nothing in me wants to be playing football. Nothing. Everything about me. I still get to be a part of the game by doing stuff like this, to do a podcast, to do the stuff the Bills had me doing. The Chiefs had me down to Brazil. Like, that was so cool. And then I get to still take my son to school, and I still get to go to their school functions and their Halloween stuff and be involved in that. And it's such a treat, dude. Of course, I do find myself getting antsy, but it's not antsy to play football. It's antsy to get out of the house, do stuff. Like, that's cool, man. I get to take my kids to the beach. We live right in the water. Like, it's just fun shit. And I feel so privileged to have this kind of clarity that a lot of guys might not have. And I don't take it for granted, man. It's cool.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to hear, man. Not that we were super close. I remember you had some health things when you were with the Chiefs. You had a stretch there.
Sure.
I remember talking to you at one point right outside the locker room during one of those times when you were out, and it was just you didn't know. And
So
to see what's happened since then has been a blessing to watch, man.
No doubt.
For real.
No doubt.
For real. What part? We just got a couple more questions before I let you go. What
I'm
part?
fun. I'm having fun. Keep going.
What part of playing for Andy Reid? And I know people get asked this a lot.
Right.
What do you think would surprise people the most about his personality? Because you got to see all of it, and I got to see glimpses of both sides. And I'll share this story because I think it was the first year I was working for the Chiefs. I was with Ted Cruz. We were walking down the hallway, kind of by the indoor, and we popped around a corner, and Andy Reid popped out from around the corner, scared the ever-loving hell out of Ted, and then just kept walking like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And I just looked at him like, what the hell was that? And he's like, that's how he is all the time. Like, that's how he is most of the time, not when he's up doing media and kind of doing the Time's Yours stuff.
Sure.
What do you think people will be surprised about his personality and just being around him like you were?
Well, it was such a privilege. I was a young player, and I needed to be coached hard, and I had a lot of growing up to do, not only as a player but as a person. So he was very forthcoming with coaching, and I needed that. But what I think that Coach Reid was so special what's so special about Coach Reid is he understands what every situation needs. He understands what every player needs to hear, and that's not an inherent thing. He knows when to push his players. He knows when to pull back. He knows what players need. It's uncanny, and it's 100% of the time he's dialed in on it. 100% of the time. You never feel like he doesn't have your back. You never feel like a decision, even if it's something that you personally don't want to happen, is something that is not in the best interest of the team. Like, he's just got it all. He knows how to fuel the fire. He knows how to alleviate the stress. He knows everything. And he's so kind. Like, getting to know him a little bit after, I think our relationship blossomed when I left. And to see him after, we played a bunch in Buffalo, and then seeing him post-retirement, like, football means so much to him, but so does him being a grandfather and all that stuff. And just, he's such a treat. You could write a whole book on this question, and I could still not answer the question properly. He's one of one, dude. He really is.
Wow.
And if you have an opportunity to be in that locker room, it's a privilege. It'll be something I get to tell my kids. It'll be something I get to tell my grandkids. Like, one of the greatest coaches ever. He got to coach me. He told me how to do it. He showed me the ropes, and he was so gracious and kind to me when I needed to hear it, even when I wasn't playing for the Chiefs. Right? He was always. The first text message I got when I signed with the Bills, Coach Reid. You're going to love Sean. He's a great dude. You deserve this, all this stuff. And then every time we played, like, he was so gracious and kind. And then when I retired, like, he's everything you need, everything you want from a player. He cares about you. He cares about the game. He's going to put you in the best position. And he's married this chaotic thing, which is NFL football, which is a kind of this clash of two things, which is, this is a very transactional business, and this is also a people business. And we want this family. And it's so hard to marry both. And you're going to, there's friction at some point, right? But he somehow seems to mitigate that friction. And that is a gift, dude. It truly is.
Yeah. The aura in which kind of surrounds him in that building, and the way that people talk about it, and it's not the wins and losses. It was talking to and hearing stories, and not to share stuff that it's not my story to tell, but talking to guys like Alan that have stories, Alan Wright, that have stories of things that he would do to go out of his way to help people personally. It has nothing to do with stuff that happens on the field.
Yep.
It's just little things that he would do. And it wouldn't be always a ton of time, but it's like, why are you bothering yourself with something like this? And it was just because that's what you do for the people that are in your circle and that are around you.
Yep.
And one day more of those stories are going to be told. And I think the ESPN documentary that came out, I think did a really good job of kind of showing a lot of that personality, but everybody that was around him has a story of something that he had done to go out of their way to help him.
He's the best, dude. He really is. It was such a privilege.
All right. Last question I've got for you. What message, I know you kind of talked about it earlier, but just message for Chiefs fans going forward. And then we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I think it would be, first of all, give yourself some grace, right? Like, as a fan, you've earned this right to feel this way about your team because this team has performed so well all the time, even these close games, but also give the team a little bit of grace and trust the guys who've taken you there 5 out of the 6 times, and it's every bit of your right to feel a certain way. It's what we want as players, but don't lose faith, man. Now's not the time to lose faith. Now's the time to double down on your dudes and do that. It's what they want. It's what you deserve.
Mr. Mitch Morse, thank you again, man, for joining us. We're going to do this again soon. We're going to stay in touch. Make sure you go check out his podcast, subscribe, YouTube, all the podcast platforms, all the good things. Mitch, man, we appreciate it.
I appreciate you, BJ. It's always good talking to you, my brother.
We appreciate Mitch Morse for joining us here on 10 Things. Have just one more thing before we let everybody go. Appreciate everybody who's still listening. And I'm just going to address this because it's gotten public over the last week with the story that Vahe Gregorian did at the Kansas City Star. This is regarding the scholarship at the University of Missouri through Power Mizzou in the name of Terez Paylor. For anybody who's been following KCSM for any length of time, during the NFL draft each year, we've raised money, or every year before this past year, we had raised money for the scholarships in the name of Terez Paylor. One was at Howard University, which we donated to the first year. And the last 3 years, it's been at the University of Missouri through the Power Mizzou Scholarship. That scholarship was set up by Gabe DeArmond right after COVID. It was set up for minority journalists and students of color. And after Terez passed, and he set up this scholarship about 7 months before Terez had passed. And once Terez had passed, it made all the sense for what it was. They decided to attach Terez's name to it, and that's where we got involved and wanted to help during the NFL draft and raise money for it. Gabe's done a phenomenal job raising money and doing a great thing with the scholarship. And now with kind of where the administration's at and the DEI language changing, people can feel how they want about that. And that's not my contention, is to have that, not to have that conversation. The conversation that I was having on social and where my issue lies is that we spent 3 years promoting to our network and people that are listening that donated for a specific reason in a way that we knew that would honor Terez and something that Terez was about. That's not where the money is going anymore. And to me, I don't understand how that makes sense. It's not my job. I don't have to have all the answers. But at the end of the day, people can feel how they want about the DEI stuff, and that seems to be a trigger point for a lot of people. You can have that conversation. The conversation that I'm having, this not being right, is that people had already donated that money, a specific amount that came from KCSN and what we were doing, and other ways in which Gabe and Power Mizzou raised money, and the University of Missouri accepted that money. And now that it's kind of being allocated for wherever they see fit. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's fair to people who donated thinking it was going to something specific. Again, everybody can have their personal feelings about this. That's just where I stand on this. And it kind of ends there for me. This has been going on for months. This is not a surprise. A lot of these conversations had months ago with everybody who's involved. And so again, there are things happening behind the scenes to try and rectify and make the best of not a great situation. And this isn't unique to just this one scholarship. It's happening all over the country with a lot of different schools. Without making it political, I don't see this as a political thing. It's people donating money for something specific. And it's not where the money's going now. And I don't know how that's okay. Because if it's something, and again, KCSN this past year, we had moved on, and rather than contributing to the scholarship, which is already being endowed. We have moved on with this workshop where we are paying the way for young journalists to go to some of these tentpole NFL events so they can network and get a chance to meet people. We have more information on that coming out. Some really cool, some really gracious national media members that are making themselves available for whomever gets the workshop this year is going to have a chance to network and meet some really amazing people and get some really, really cool experiences that we hope finds some value in this space in a way that honors Terez, uses his name in a way that we know that he would appreciate. So there's no antipod, there's no problems with everybody. It's a bad situation and everybody's trying to make the best of it. We're all on the same page. We've all been communicating. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions to me. I just wanted to put that out there that we've all been communicating for a long time, long before the story came out. We've all been on the same page and know how each other feel. And so I appreciate everybody over the years that's donated to any of our 5 programs, but particularly the one for Terez and kind of what's transpired and how it's all come about. Respect Gabe and everything he's done to raise over $100,000 in Terez's name for this scholarship in a way to help students. And so we'll continue to honor Terez the best way we can. Wanted to put that out there because there's a lot of stuff on social media is getting aggregated by a lot of different people, and conversations kind of were getting twisted. And didn't want that to happen and wanted people to know where I'm coming from and to be transparent about money that had been donated in the past, where it went, and kind of how it's being used now. If there are any questions, let me know. There'll be more information coming out, I'm sure, as we go forward. But that's where it's at right now. Again, I appreciate Mitch Morse for joining this episode of 10 Things. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comment section how you feel. If you have any thoughts, I'll get in there and respond. But appreciate everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.